Well, on the heels of the Africa Climate Summit last week, leaders in finance and global development launched a partnership that aims to help close the massive funding gap for clean cooking while also helping to de-risk investment into the sector. Now, the new partnership platform for clean cooking finance was announced by the Clean Cooking Alliance, as well as the African Guarantee Fund and the United Nations Capital Development Fund. Now, it aims to mobilize $100 million for clean cooking by 2026. It also seeks to bring together a range of ecosystem players from across carbon and clean cooking markets to de-risk investments and also create greater opportunities for investment. Now, while the CCA, AGF and the UNCDF are the platform's anchor partners, a growing pipeline of other key ecosystem actors, including banks, carbon project developers, impact investors and cooking companies, are expected to join that effort. Now, of course, part of their project is also training bankers on how to invest in the carbon credit markets. And let's now delve into that project further with Patrick Lumumba. He is the Group Director of Capacity Development at the Africa Guarantee Fund. Great to have you with us on the show, Mr. Lumumba. Now, I'd like to start here. Besides the climate argument, let's talk about what really makes carbon markets an attractive prospect, especially for financial institutions like banks. One, of course, that will help to maximize their returns.
No, banks have realized of late that lending for commercial reasons only is not enough. They want to contribute towards sustainable development within a country. And hence, any initiative that goes towards that extent, be it women financing, youth financing, clean cooking, green financing, climate financing, as it were, then this is an area that they want to be aligned with, especially with the global trend and the country's trend, in this case, Kenya. And of course, carbon market present an additional opportunity for the banks to make returns, but also to leverage on the credit market and credit financing to further on lend to SMEs, particularly in this case, clean cooking project.
Now, you're actually training senior managers across banks and financial institutions about how they can maximize those returns. Give us some insight into the opportunities you're presenting to them that exist in the carbon markets.
Well, as African Guarantee Fund, with our partnership with Nordic Development Fund, they have provided us with a green guarantee. It's a ring-fenced guarantee that targets green financing or climate financing. And clean cooking, being a segment of climate financing, falls within this purview. Up and above the green guarantee, we have a capacity development or technical assistance grant that financial institutions and banks can be able to access. And this is intended to build their capacity so that they effectively develop financial solutions, train their staff, and all mechanisms necessary for them to effectively lend to clean cooking. So this is a very good opportunity for banks to delve into these uncharted territories. So AGF will handhold them together with the Clean Cooking Alliance and UNCDF.
Now, one thing that you have said is that carbon markets, the clean cooking sector, they're not just a powerful instrument to meet a company's ESG targets, but they're also an effective market entry strategy, especially for banks. How so?
It's a good opportunity for banks to get into it. And of course, with our partnership, with this particular tripartite partnership, banks have ready partners who have been within the game to handhold them. It's a very good opportunity for them to get into this sector. And use of dirty fuels within Africa has contributed to about 3.2 million deaths annually. And this is very heavy. It takes a toll on African countries. And getting into clean cooking space by financial institution will help alleviate these causes of death within Africa, and more so enable women and children specifically to have adequate time, quality time, rather than moving from place to place looking for firewood. So all these are the aspects that we are looking at in terms of moving into this sector. And apart from making some good returns for the banks, they also contribute towards, one, reducing greenhouse gas emission, but also making positive and quality livelihoods for citizens in Africa.
Well, on a broader level, you're not just talking to the banking sector. You're looking to bring together a range of ecosystem players, you said, from across carbon and clean cooking markets to de-risk investments and create greater opportunities for investments across the board. What are the broader goals and, of course, some of the initiatives we're going to see from AGF in the context of climate action and, of course, sustainable finance going forward?
Very good question. And I think AGF is also partnering with Kenya Bankers Association in this regard. And by extension, we're looking at also roping in regulators. Specifically in Kenya, we're talking about central bank, so that again, policy and regulatory frameworks for enabling clean cooking lending is grown. So AGF will contribute its part towards this, but more so also provide the relevant ecosystem whereby we bring in consultants, because one thing that banks lack also are the tools and frameworks that will enable them to validly and verifiably measure carbon credits. It's something that is very technical and it must abide by the international standards for them to get buyers of these carbon credits. So all these players within this ecosystem need to come on board. Banks cannot do it alone. AGF also cannot do it alone because, again, as I emphasized, these are very technical areas and all players need to come on board so that financing within this particular value chain is undertaken and effectively undertaken. Our green guarantee, of course, will address perceived risks by banks because, again, it's a new sector and every bank normally is resistant to get into uncharted territories. So our green guarantee will enable de-risk the bank up to 75%. The bank will only uptake risks of up to 25% only. And then our capacity development will also come in handy to not only support the banks, but also support clean cooking energy projects so that the entire value chain is solid and can be sustained itself for the long term.
Well, we are certainly excited to see how that initiative grows as Africa strives to meet its climate goals. Thank you so much, Mr. Lumumba, for joining us on the show today. Of course, that's Patrick Lumumba. He is the Group Director of Capacity Development at the Africa Guarantee Fund.